What's up, you beautiful chuds? I'm here to review Alien Romulus, the new entry into the ever-expanding, the ever-ongoing franchise that is Alien. And we got a new one out, directed by Fede Alvarez, a name that you will know if you know horror. You know that he directed Evil Dead from 2013. He also directed the incredibly underrated Don't Breathe. I'm sure these are movies that I might speak about a little bit more later. But right now, I need to get into how I feel about Alien Romulus. So if you've watched these reviews before, you know that there's a lot of layers and there's a lot of things that I always need to think about to do these reviews, which is why there are going to be spoilers, because I like to give you my very honest, in-depth, basically opinion of the entirety of what I think this movie is and how I feel about it. I can only really do that if I'm talking about the things that happen in it. So if you haven't seen Alien Romulus yet, then go and watch it. Try and watch it on the biggest screen you can, because it deserves to. But then maybe if you want to come back to this review, but unless you don't give a shit and you want the world to burn, it doesn't matter. Then just keep watching this review and then you'll know everything about all the shit that happens in this movie. But either way, I'm going to be talking about it very honestly. And this review is definitely going to be an incredibly honest review. When I do them, I am almost processing the information as I go along. I haven't written anything down really. I don't really have anything planned. I just go with how I feel about it, how I feel in my gut about this movie. And it's going to be very honest. So let's get into it. So Alien Romulus is essentially about where you're following a group of basically young kids. I don't even know if they're kids, but they're younger than they normally are in normal Alien movies, which is probably one of my main problems with it, because the people in it aren't great, but we get to that. But the group, basically, they're a group that are trying to escape this dead-end planet that they live on to basically essentially have a better life somewhere else. This group consists of the main two, I would say, of the movie, which is Rain and her android brother, Andy, who I'm definitely going to speak about later on in the movie. And they essentially go on a mission to go and get some more power or whatever it is for the units that send them to sleep for a long, long time so they can go to this other planet and have a better life. But unfortunately, it all goes tits up. We know it's going to, and they go face to face with the most dangerous being in the universe, i.e. the xenomorph, another thing that I will mention later on as well. But like I said, this is going to be proper in depth. That's essentially the movie. It all becomes about what happens within within the movie, within the parts of the movie, from start, middle to the end. Is this a successful Alien movie? To get it out of the way, is this a successful Alien movie? Yes, absolutely it is. But, and there is a big but, I'm going to go into a lot of stuff that I don't like about it or don't appreciate about it, that I know some people feel the same way, and also a lot of people don't. Remember, this is my review of it. It doesn't have to be the way that you feel about it. And in for all honesty, it shouldn't be the way that you feel about it. But this is just my honest opinion about it. So let's get into what I do like. So this film, as I mentioned at the start, is directed by Fede Alvarez, who I am already, even just after 2 movies of Evil Dead 2013 and Don't Breathe, I'm a massive fan of him. I think aesthetically, he's a fantastic director. I think he brings a fresh approach to whatever he's doing. Obviously, he had already gone into a franchise before, like Evil Dead 2013, and made a movie that nobody wanted because it wasn't Sam Raimi and it wasn't Bruce Campbell, and it was almost essentially boycotted, and then everybody had to shut the fuck up after they watched it, including me, because we came out the cinema going, wow, what an incredible movie that he created as his first main movie, and it was great. It had everything, and what was great about that is he actually added extra layers to quite honestly a basic story to what Evil Dead is. They just go into the cabin, go to a cabin in the woods, and shit happens. With Evil Dead 2013, he added the extra layers of Mia and her group of friends and her brother, and it was really interesting. But not only that, it had everything you wanted. Now, I'm not going to do a review for Evil Dead 2013. This is just me setting it all up. But then he went on and did Don't Breathe, an original movie of his. And I think, like I said at the start, it was incredibly underrated. I think, once again, it's fresh. It feels new. Even for, obviously, you know, now it's, I don't know, even know when that came out. 2016, 2015, don't know. But either way, when it came out, it felt great. Even now to this day, I think it's underrated. But once again, he's a great director. That's just me setting up what I think about him as a director. Now, when you make an Alien movie, you do need somebody who is an aesthetically gifted filmmaker, a technically gifted filmmaker who understands the craft. And Fede Alvarez quite obviously does with his previous movies. So that made me really excited about Alien. And this is where the pros and the cons start happening. The pros are that the film itself looks fantastic. And in fact, the best looking shots of the movie are at the start, when it's nothing to do with them going to this other planet where the xenomorph and everything and all that battle, all that sort of shit happens. Just them walking around the planet that they're trying to get away from. I was sitting there going like, wow, like look at this. Well, look at these shots. Like in my head, I was like, this looks stunning. You've got, just the way, and it was very almost Blade Runner-esque. Or a lot of this movie actually makes you, it makes you think of Alien 3 quite a lot in this movie, with the David Fincher sort of aesthetic of that sort of planet and everything they're living on at that time before they go elsewhere. There's a lot of it made me think a lot of like Alien 3 and so on, but we're going to talk about that a little bit later on, how it takes from the other movies, which is going to be a big part of this, and I know a big part of what a lot of people have spoken about already. So it looks great, and the whole movie looks great. The lighting's fantastic. The setup of the shots is pretty good, but this is something that I have said a million times before. If you've listened to the podcast or watched the podcast or been on my lives or anything like that, you will know that I constantly feel that the art of cinema is almost gone if you're talking about it on a technical aspect of cinematography. And what I mean by that is that I truly miss when we had films that weren't afraid to show everything. Back then in the 70s and the 80s, we didn't have CGI. We didn't have computer generated images. Everything was practical. It was real. It was there. And everybody was so proud of their craft that they wanted to show it. And they had these beautiful wide angle shots. And Alien from 1979 was one of those movies that to me still holds up as one of the most beautiful movies ever made. And it will show everything. It will do close-ups when it needs to, but if it doesn't, it's trying to show the whole team or anything that's happening, or even if it's just a shot of the ship itself. It's all these beautiful wide angle lenses. And when you have an Alien movie, you want that, because this is a movie about the xenomorph and their battle against it, and you want to see all of that. This is about exploring planets and the universe, and you want to see that. And it just felt very claustrophobic. So even though this movie is aesthetically gorgeous and Fede Alvarez has done a great job, he is a director that likes to rush a lot of shots, and it's a lot of quick cuts. And Alien Romulus, you get that a lot. You get a lot of, here's this shot, this is the next shot. Here's this one, onto the next one. And nothing's set. It never lingers on these things that are really showing either the beauty or the horrible things that are going on. You don't necessarily get a sense of everything that's going on all the time. Now, there's a reason why a lot of filmmakers do this, obviously, because it builds the tension and the dread. And of course, with an Alien movie, you want that. But we've seen what came before it with Alien and Aliens. Like I said, I'm going to speak more about them later. But they are aesthetically gorgeous movies that just show everything. And they show the scale and they show the scope of not just what's happening in the movie, but of the universe, of the planets that they're on. And you want that. And although I loved how Alien Romulus looks, I miss that way of telling stories and through images on screen. And we don't get it that much, and I wish we would go back to it. But that was the thing. So like I said, with aesthetically, cinematography-wise, it was pros and cons. It looked great for what they filmed. There were some great looking shots. But at the same time, they should have opened it up more to show us more of everything that's going on in this world, whether anything is happening or whether it's not. But once again, This is a personal preference that could just be mine. You might be sitting there and going, he's talking shit, and it was all absolutely fucking beautiful. And do you know what? That's absolutely fine, because that's the way that it's meant to be. So Fede Alvarez as a director did a fantastic job. Performances wise and cast, that was one of my letdowns. Quite honestly, one of the things that we love about Alien and Aliens is the characters, all the Marines in Aliens and all their incredible, characters and the life that was brought to them. The same as Alien with Ripley and Brett and Parker and Dallas and everybody like that. You're happy to be on this journey with them. I honestly could not give a fuck about the people in Alien Romulus. In fact, most of them annoyed me, and they weren't very good at doing the job that they needed to on screen. There was nothing really. And once again, is that down to them not being able to have the time to do that, because it's constantly cutting from this, cutting to that. And it's very, very quick. Fede Alvarez, like I've already mentioned, makes quick movies. They could be 2 hours, but there's so much going on in them. So is it necessarily their fault? I don't know. Even Rain, the main female character, who obviously at the start is very pensive and not too sure what to do, but obviously becomes the badass at the end. I honestly didn't really feel anything for her in the movie. I didn't really care about being on her journey. The most interesting character of the movie is Android Andy, her brother, her android Andy. For better term, obviously they mentioned that he would rather not be called an android in the movie, but that's essentially what he is. But I like how they play with the fact that when we see androids most of the time in movies, especially within the Alien movies, whether it's with Ian Holm, which obviously we'll talk about that later, whether it's with Ash in the first one, or you've got Bishop and, Lance Henriksen and so on, and then later in Prometheus with Fassbender essentially being like the ultimate sort of what humans should be, so to speak. They're always feel like they're that higher power. They always feel like they're the intelligence in that room that know everything, because they're supposed to. It was really interesting to take that at the start of the movie we get Andy, who is very much so human, almost feels a little bit dysfunctional, so to speak, as an android. And I really enjoyed that, and he played that really well. David Johnson was fantastic in that role. And then when he gets that sort of chip in his thing, and it becomes more about the sort of brings out the more sinister side of the androids, because they obviously have a mission, and that's their mission. They have no control over it because they have no emotion. That is their goal. And they have that, and then that starts bringing into the movie that sort of terror, that dread, that unpredictability, because you're like, okay, this android is set on a mission, so he could literally do whatever he wants, and there's nothing you can do about it. David Johnson played that perfectly. So in all honesty, the rest of the cast were awful. And do you know what? Like I've said this all the time, I'm English, obviously. I find it very difficult to watch English people in movies. I find it incredibly annoying. I find myself incredibly annoying. You probably all find me infuriating. I can't even say words. Infuriating. Incredibly annoying. So to watch Alien Romulus as an English person, to get annoyed by English people or whoever they are, is frustrating. David Johnson, to be honest, I don't know if I know he's English in the movie. I don't know if he's American or English or so on in real life, but he did a fantastic job. The rest of the English cast, especially the one that's supposed to be sort of cool, where he tries doing that lighter trick, and every single second him or his brother is swearing, because apparently that's all we do. Although it's probably true, I've sworn loads in this video already, so they got that right. But either way, annoying. So like I said, I just don't care for the characters in this, when you're supposed to enjoy your journey and care about the characters in these movies, because it's an alien movie. I just couldn't give a shit about them. So character-wise, it's up and down. You had Andy, fantastic. The rest of them don't give a shit. They're just there to essentially die in horrible ways. Talking about dying in horrible ways, we do get something that's pretty satisfying in this movie, where we actually get somebody dying from the defensive acid blood from the xenomorph, whatever. It is what it is. I don't know. But we get somebody dying, and that's a cool moment. And that's one of the moments where you sit there in the cinema, if you get to watch this at the cinema, and you're like, okay, finally, like, we got something really cool. They used that element really, really well, and we finally got something, as fans of this franchise, we got something cool, and it couldn't have happened to a better person in it because he was the most annoying person in it. So well done, Fede. You got that one right. So aesthetically good, but it still has its cons. It should have been bigger, in scope, because all that is essentially lenses. It's not down to budget, it's down to how you want to film it, and he should have looked at that aspect. But once again, he's trying to make a Fede Alvarez Alien movie. You know, this is how many attempts after the disastrous attempts of the Alien movies that there have been after Alien and Aliens, which once again I'll probably get into talking a little bit more about it. Obviously, like I said, when I'm doing these reviews, I'm literally talking very honestly from my heart, from my gut. So they're not always the quickest things in the world because I'm processing it as I'm doing it. I sit down and just process it in front of you so you all know my very true, honest, view of these movies. So yeah, there are a lot of pros. The pros are that it is a relentless movie. The pace is fantastic. It just keeps going and keeps going. Do I wish, we lingered on shots a little bit more? If it made the film a little bit longer? Yeah, absolutely. I want to see more of these worlds and more of trying to help us enjoy these characters or be on these journeys with them. We don't really get that, but I think the pace of the movie is absolutely fantastic. There are a lot of absolutely fantastic set pieces in this that build up the disaster that all these these characters are going to go through, and Andy obviously is at the forefront of a lot of these. But then we get some more problems, such as throughout the film they obviously go to this other ship, and unfortunately we have an android that they essentially revive named Rook. Now we know him as Ash. I'm not very clever. I'm assuming that it's just a replicant of the android that they created. That was Ash that we know from the first movie, and then this isn't obviously actually him in the new movie in Romulus, because Romulus is set between Alien and Aliens, I believe. But I believe Rook is obviously just a duplicate, part of the product line of those androids at the time. And I'm still undecided whether I like it. It's cool when you first see it at the start, but then at the same time, we're still not there with technology at the moment where it looks good enough for you to not go, this looks shit, because quite honestly, it didn't look great. I don't know whether it's because I'm watching on the cinema. Sometimes in certain lighting, it looks okay, but when it just doesn't work. They call it the uncanny valley still, where it's off and it looks weird and it doesn't look right and it doesn't look really properly human, and it just doesn't work. And obviously Ian Holm isn't even doing the voice for it. I don't know who it was they got to do the voice, but he's not doing the voice. I thought the voice was actually really well done, but the look of it put me off completely. And it was another thing, like a lot of things in this movie, and this is me trying to hurry it along a little bit and getting into my main gripes about this movie, that it is for a lot of people as well. And it is something that also a lot of people just don't give a fuck about, and it's fine. But the problem that this movie has is it is fan service, and that's what this movie has a lot of. And it happens throughout, but the more the movie goes into the plot and where it's going, it is just constantly becoming more in your face. If you go into this movie and you've never seen any of the Alien movies, then you will love this movie, and you won't even have to sit there and think about all the other things it's trying to be or trying to replicate or trying to go, oh, remember this from Alien, or even Resurrection, or even, oh, do you know what? Alien Isolation is such a good game. We're going to throw little nods in there for that, like save points and stuff like that. Like, there's so many nods in this to other Alien movies that it gets to a point that even someone like me, so I'm not somebody that really gives a shit about the mythology or the lore or whatever it is of all these franchises and stuff. Honestly, I don't care. When I sit there and watch a movie, all I care about is how it's making me feel when I watch it, and how it makes me feel after I've seen it, and how after processing it all, how it makes me feel, what I think about it, to then talk about it, like doing a review or talk to people in real life. But when you are watching movies like this, or when I watch movies like this, or when it's franchises like this, I just honestly don't really care about where it's connecting and these sort of things. So if a movie like Alien is already annoying me a little bit or frustrating me because it's just putting so much of this stuff from different movies into it, and I'm sitting there going, this is getting a bit too much, then you know you've sort of got a bit of a problem. Because they don't need to. Fede Alvarez is a very good director, like I've already said, but he already managed to create something that felt new for Evil Dead in 2013. He should have been able, or should have done that with Alien Romulus. And they're always, especially in movies now, whether it's sequels or the third or the fourth of movies, if they're done now of movies from the 70s or 80s, they always feel the need for this fan service. And we don't need it, because we want to watch them create new worlds and new characters and new ways of exploring the universe or the planets, or new ways of showing us the threat of what a xenomorph is. And when they do that in this movie, they're essentially just doing what they've already done before. A lot of the set pieces near the end felt the same as what we'd seen in Alien or Alien 2, with sucking things out the ships, which obviously, like, you know, it happened in Alien, happened in Aliens 2. They even, you know, have the original Alien, I think, in that went into space from Alien within this movie that they found. You've got probably one of the worst bits of the movie is where they do an even worse version of Alien Resurrection, the alien human hybrid of whatever it is. They do that in this movie, but worse, because it looks fucking laughable. It looks just like a giant, I don't know, person that would probably be incredible at basketball, but rubbish at trying to kill people. It looks awful. And for me, like I've already mentioned, aesthetics are a lot. And even in Alien Resurrection, a movie that I don't like, and was just got a bit ridiculous, that looked even better. So even when you're trying to reference a movie, they got it wrong in regards to the aesthetics. So there's a lot to like about this movie. I've spoken more about what I don't like about this movie, and I think the reason that I've been doing that is because it's frustrating, because we don't need to keep getting fan service, because we didn't need to have this Rook character in there that is just a nasty piece of shit, that is essentially the same as who Ash was in Alien, because then they're like, oh, remember this character? We didn't need this giant hybrid man alien thing at the end of it, because we already had it in Resurrection and they've just done it again. We didn't get to spend a lot of time with the characters and they didn't develop them, but I didn't give a shit about them because they were annoying, majority of them, apart from Andy. That was the saving part of the movie. As well as that, fantastic set pieces when they happened. Obviously we had what is like another on the fence scene, whether you're like, this is cool, but also this is also not cool at the same time, where they're playing with the gravity, and then you've got the acid blood and they're flying through the acid blood, and then you're like, this is probably a bit too much. It's cool, it looks cool, but it's probably a bit shit. And that's where I am with this movie. And I think that's where I am with this movie, trying to think about it, trying to process it now, talking it out on this review for you to sort of hear and see. I think that's where I am with this movie. I think that this is a fantastic movie in its own rights, but has so many problems that can cloud your judgment. The way to look at this movie is like, this is going off on a bit of a weird tangent, but remember when Star Wars Force Awakens came out, and the buzz around that was massive, and then people saw it and it blew people's minds. Everybody thought it was fantastic. Well, a lot of people, I can't speak for everybody. I thought it was great. To be honest, I still do. And loads of people absolutely loved it when it came out. But then over time, the reviews started getting a little bit worse and stuff. And I think the reason because of that happened is because for so long, Star Wars fans wanted a movie that was actually good. They wanted something to believe in again. They wanted to believe in this franchise again. Star Wars, obviously. That's what I'm talking about. But they wanted to believe in it. And Force Awakens came out and it was fantastic. Beautiful movie, made really well. Great characters. cool little nods to the other movies. But then after about a time, everybody just started realising, going, hang on, this movie is literally A New Hope. Like, it's literally the same sort of thing, just, you know, aesthetically a little bit different, or they have the same sort of scene, but it's done slightly different. And that's how I feel about Alien Romulus. And I know there's a few people out there who feel the same sort of way. And there's a lot of people, as I said, who don't. But this is how I feel. I feel the same way as that. I think over time, this film will be one that may be less regarded, possibly. Or the opposite. I honestly don't know. But I think it might be when the hype is over, when everybody's really sitting there over time and processing it, like I am now on this. I think maybe over time, people will think about this and go, okay, I mean, we could just go back and watch Alien and Aliens, or even Aliens 3 and Alien Resurrection and so on, because this movie almost feels like a showreel of those movies. It's like trying to take the best parts of those movies and put it into one to create what they think the fans of Alien want. I personally don't want that. I don't want them to keep going back to what they've already done, because in my own opinion, I mean, I don't like any of the other Alien movies apart from Alien and Aliens. Alien is the first horror movie I ever watched, and it holds a special place in my heart. But also, I think it is one of the most perfect movies ever made in every aspect that you can think of. I'm not going to go into it, but I personally believe it is one of the most perfect movies ever made. Aliens is an amazing sequel that I absolutely love. I love watching. I put it on a lot. In fact, I probably watch Aliens now more than I watch Alien. Not because I like it more, because I don't. I prefer Alien. But it's just more Hollywood. You can just put it on and enjoy it. And you enjoy your time with these characters. And there's a lot more action, so to speak. Alien is one of those movies that I'm like, do you know what? Like, I really want to get into something and I want to watch it and I want to enjoy it and I want to be amazed and in awe still after all these years of how good it looks and how incredible it is. It's a masterpiece in filmmaking. I love them both. Aliens 3, not great. It's pretty boring, to be honest. Even though it's David Fincher and it should be amazing, it's not. Then Alien Resurrections, just fucking batshit crazy, not great. And then everything after that was just essentially trying to be the same thing. So in regards to it, Alien Romulus, for me personally, is the third best Alien movie. Alien, Aliens, Alien Romulus. Everything after that, I'm not really fussed about. So that does show that I do enjoy this movie. It does show that I hold this movie in higher regard in regards to the franchise in a whole. But there's a lot of problems with this movie that I personally found after processing it. At the time when I was in the cinema, I was already had the problems with it that I'm talking about. But I really enjoyed the experience. And that's the thing with movies. This movie is a really enjoyable movie. It's a really enjoyable experience. The sound design is fantastic. Obviously, I haven't even mentioned the music. The music is absolutely fantastic. Alien and Aliens and this franchise, it always has to have fantastic music. And this this movie does have incredible score and music. It works. Aesthetically gorgeous. I've mentioned what I wish it was more of. But it is what it is. And we got what we got. I'm incredibly excited about what Fede Alvarez is going to do next. I know that we've got, because everything gets turned into a TV series, we've got Alien Earth, I think it's called, and that's going to be a prequel to it all. I think Alien Earth is going to be before even the first Alien. So it's always interesting when they go back, because obviously we had the technology from 1979, so it's so difficult sometimes because the way that films look now, you're like, okay, well, this looks way more modern than something that's supposed to be set before that. I could be wrong. I don't know. But yeah, I don't know. It just feels like this franchise needs to stop in a way. As much as I love Alien Romulus, and I know I've spoken about what I don't love a lot about, but as a movie on its own, it's a very enjoyable movie that hits the pace really, really well. From start, middle to the end, you don't get bored. I didn't check my phone once, which is always a good thing. Not even to check the time. I mean, there are points in it where you're like, okay, this bit's going on for a little bit too long. Let's get back into the action. But when the action happens, it's great. Oh, and also, they really utilize the face huggers in this. The face huggers have always been really incredibly, like, you know, nightmare inducing creatures, and they do them right in this. So that's one of the other positives as well. So honestly, this is a fantastic movie. I am selling it short by saying all the negative stuff about it. But I have to be honest, and I'm sort of through with this constant fan service that gets in the way of telling its own story. And we don't need to do that anymore. So there we go. That's the review. I know there's going to be things that I'm going to miss. I'm going to go away and I'm going to be like, shit, I didn't talk about that. But it is what it is. Do I like Alien Romulus? Do I think it's fantastic? Absolutely. It's my third favourite in the franchise. That says something. But there are a lot of problems with this movie. If you're a fan of Alien and the franchise, there's problems. If you're a fan of movies and the technical aspect of filmmaking or story or concept or structure or idea, there's problems. It's stealing it from all the other movies. But irrelevant of all that, it's still a fun popcorn horror, thriller, sci-fi, action, whatever you want to call it, that I honestly enjoyed. Is it a movie that I will own when it comes out? Absolutely. And am I already looking forward to watching it again? Yeah, I am. And if I could get a chance to go and see it at the cinema again, I probably would. But it is what it is. But overall, it's a really good movie. If you get a chance, go and watch it. It just has problems. But most films do. Just this one might have a few more problems than it should. Simple as that. Anyway, look, thank you. If you stuck to the end of this is a long review, but there's a lot to talk about. There's a lot to discuss. I want to know what you think about Alien Romulus in the comments. Get in the comments, let me know. I know that there are going to be so many people out there that completely disagree with me, and that's fine. You're supposed to, because this is cinema. This is it. This is the Alien franchise as well. There's going to be loads of people that absolutely love Alien Resurrection or Prometheus or the other ones that I don't even remember their names. Well, I don't. It's good that you do. Simple as that. This is movies and this is Alien franchise. Am I happy that we've got another one? I mean, it's like this. So yeah, I am. Do I care about having any more? No, because I can just go and watch Alien and Aliens whenever I want on Disney+. They're not a sponsor, but they can be. Either way, look, go and watch this movie if you can. Enjoy it. Let me know in the comments what you think. Please subscribe. There's going to be more reviews obviously coming when I get to see movies. We've got the podcast episodes on video format here on YouTube. We've also got them available on any audio platform as well. So if you want very honest, in-depth, passionate conversations about horror, we're everywhere. All I can ask you to do is stay creepy and, I don't know, just go and watch Alien and make your own mind up.